Welcome to There's a Musical for That.
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 And if you like cellar dwellers
And trapdoor lovers,
there's a musical for that.
And if you like mermaids, crabs, and guppies, why? There's a musical for that.
If you like fan of the opera fan fiction, there's a musical for that.
If you like falling in love and broken hearts, and establishing your dreams and then having them dashed, and duels, there's a musical for that.
and it's called Wicked.
And it's called Little Mermaid Live.
It's called Hamilton.
And it's called Dogfight.
And it's called Phantom of the Opera 2, Love Never Died.
Welcome to There's a Musical for That.
Dreamgirls will help you through the night. Dreamgirls will make you feel alright. Dreamgirls keep you dreaming your whole life through. Your dreamgirls can make your dreams come true.
Welcome to There's a Musical for That, the podcast where we prove there's a musical for every situation. I'm Tiffany,
And I'm Kayla.
and if you like The Supremes plus one, well, there's a musical for that. And it's called
Dreamgirls! We
Woo!
didn't even plan that.
I
Look,
know.
we're your dream girls too. Boys will make you happy.
It's been a couple weeks, just put best friends together and
Yep.
we,
In sync.
we're in sync.
Synced right up like Justin Timberlake. In sync.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Lance. I was a Lance fan.
Oh, his eyes were too open for me. You know how I feel about that.
I do, yes. Okay, so Dreamgirls came out
Oh, shoot.
when I was in high school.
The movie, we're talking
yes,
about the movie version, not
yes,
the
with
Broadway
Beyonce.
version.
I'm gonna say 2007 is my guess. Let me know if I'm right. Starring Beyonce and some other famous people.
2006.
2006. Ooh, so close. I probably saw it.
Came
in
out on
07.
Christmas.
Okay,
So
then
you probably
yes,
did
I
see it
saw
in
it in 2007. Hey.
Yeah, Beyonce, Jennifer Hudson, fresh off of American Idol.
Mhm.
Anika Noni Rose, Jamie Foxx is in this. Danny Glover is in this. Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
I guess we could have said who they are, but I mean,
You can watch it. Like it's pretty accessible. You can watch it. You can,
that's true. You probably know if you're in America.
yeah.
You probably know. If we do have some people not in America who apparently listen to this.
Oh, that's awesome. This movie is probably available where you are as well. It was very popular.
Yes, Beyonce is worldwide.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is essentially the story of the Supremes. If you do not know, the Supremes was a girl group from the 1960s whose kind of breakout star was Diana Ross, who still is performing to this day. And in the movie, or I guess in the fictionalized musical version, Diana Ross's character is Dina Jones, and that's played by Beyonce. I'm trying to think if I want to enumerate all the people.
So she's one. Effie, played by
Jennifer Hudson.
yes, is one of the main ones, and then
Laurel is Anika Noni Rose, who is the voice of the Princess and the Frog. And she has done lots of things. She was in From Justin to Kelly.
interesting.
She was the one
Okay.
that could sing in that movie.
I have not seen that. I heard it wasn't good, so I
Really?
never bothered.
You didn't
Yeah,
watch it at Lindsay's birthday party that time?
I was not invited.
Oh, rude.
That's okay.
Lindsay.
I don't mind.
Okay, so the movie starts with the group, the Dreams, as they're known at this point. No, the Dreamettes is what they're called. They're showing up for a talent show. It's Effie, Laurel, and Dina showing up for a talent show. They're running late, and they finally get to perform. And Jamie Foxx's character is this shady kind of manager guy who also owns a car dealership. And he rigs the competition so that they don't win, so that they have to kind of ask him to be their manager, showing that he was shady from the very beginning. So he does that, and then he gets them to go on tour with Jimmy Early, who is Eddie Murphy's character.
Yes.
A kind of, not really Little Richard style, more like a Chuck Berry style performer, I guess. If I knew more about the 60s, I could tell you
Yeah,
for certain who he was, but he seems kind of Chuck Berry
You're already
style.
beyond what I know.
Chuck Berry's from St. Louis.
Oh, yay. That's cool.
So then they go on tour with Jimmy Early, making a lot of money a week. I don't remember how much. Laurel is the youngest, and she strikes up a relationship with Jimmy early, even though he's married.
That goes on for quite a while.
Like 10 years or
Yes.
something. She's like the young, naive one. Dina is like the conventionally attractive one. Effie is the one, she's bigger, but she's a
got the
powerhouse
powerhouse voice,
vocals.
yeah.
Yes. Whereas Dina has, is pretty, and she has the kind of vocals that will suit anyone, whereas Jennifer Hudson in real life and Effie in the show is just kind of a scream type person, which is good, all well and good, but sometimes you need a delicate voice.
Everything has its place.
Yes, I agree. And she could have toned it down. I've never heard her tone it down, but I believe in her that she could.
I didn't realize that she mostly,
Screams?
yeah. So
That's a trope of her.
I really like Jennifer Hudson, so I had never heard any type of potentially critical commentary. I was just like, ooh, Jennifer Hudson.
Have you listened to any of her albums?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I only hear her sporadically when she comes on somewhere, so
see.
it doesn't get overwhelming. But I
Like-
imagine if that was all you heard for an entire album, be like, can you calm down? That's
Even in
fair.
some of her slower, softer songs, it's still kind of like,
Oh.
and you're like, okay, just quiet, just a little bit.
I totally got what you meant when you just did that too. That was a really good.
Oh, thank you. I thought it was really bad. Thank you. I sounded like a ghost.
But I knew, like, I could hear her doing that. I can.
Yeah, she does the things.
Yes.
So Effie ends up striking up a relationship with Jamie Foxx's character, who's named Curtis.
I'm gonna probably call him Jamie Foxx.
That's fair. I should probably be calling all of them by their actor names. If this was a musical, it'd be their, if this is the stage show. But people know Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
She strikes up a relationship with him. The Dreams.
And she's the main singer in the beginning.
Yes, Effie is the lead.
Yes.
And her brother Cece writes all of their music.
Yes.
I don't know that actor's name, but he's been in some other things.
But then later on, they are trying to branch out into
The white music scene.
music scene. Yeah,
This is
I
set
was
in the
like-
60s, if you didn't know.
Yeah. And they found that Jamie Foxx and Effie weren't as accepted.
Jamie Foxx.
Isn't Jamie Foxx the?
Do you
'cause
mean
they
Eddie
had-
Murphy?
Oh yeah, Eddie Murphy. So they tried to have him perform at a white like,
Copacabana,
casino. Yeah.
which is, I think, a real place.
Okay, and it did not go over well at all. So the next day they had the Dreamgirls go on, but they were gonna put Beyonce
in front,
as the front singer because they thought that would go over better. Effie or what's her name? Effie was not having it.
That's true.
What is her name?
Jennifer Hudson?
Yes, we just talked about her.
I know, that's
forgot
what I
her
was
name
like,
already. I
oh,
was like,
weird.
what's happening to me? So she
wants to storm out, and
yeah,
they
she did
convince her
storm
to
out.
stay.
Did she?
They sing that song, Family.
Oh yeah, and then got
We are growing free.
yeah. But then later on, she did.
She kept trying to storm out because right after that, so the Dreams, what happened with Jimmy is he started off pretty good singing like a very slow love song, and then he pointed to this lady in the front. It was like, I want you,
And he was like
and pelvic
air thrust,
thrusting.
yeah.
And her, the white lady and her white husband are like, oh no. And so they left. So that's when Jimmy got pushed to the back. And Effie is kind of, like we mentioned, very loud, and I guess the white people like quiet music, I suppose. So
At least in that venue.
yeah, so they're like, well, Dina doesn't sing as loud. Let's put her in the front. And they changed their name from the Dreamettes to the Dreams.
Because
They rebranded.
I think that Jamie Foxx, when he was watching Eddie Murphy perform, also saw some people like looking at Beyonce. So he was like, "Oh,
okay. I could see that.
the white people like her. Let's put her as front." So I think, if I'm remembering right,
She's the
observed
most
that.
palatable of the three because Laurel does look very young. I think Anika Noni Rose might have been older than the other two at the time. I don't recall. But she does look very youthful because she looked the same age as she was in From Justin to Kelly, which was like 10 years. Well, not 10 years. So she's like kind of a petite, short type. Jennifer Hudson is a larger, more boisterous type. And then you have Beyonce in the middle, who's just like average.
Yep.
For everyone. So they decide to put her in the front. Effie flips out. They sing Family and get her to stay. And you see, I think right after that, you see they do perform at the hotel or wherever they were, and it goes well. And then you see a montage of them being big, famous people. Mm-hmm. And they're performing on some TV show.
And they go
Effie
overseas.
storms out. Yes. They, it was like the Beatles cover, but it was with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're performing in London on a TV show, and Effie like walks out, but she doesn't just walk out. She goes around so she can be in front of Dina and walk in front of the camera and walks out. So that was storm out number 2.
Yes. So then she's gone for a while. They end up replacing her.
Well, she's gone, and they're preparing for this New Year's Eve show, and they've been trying to call her, and then she shows up, and she's like, I'm here now. And that's when they're like, well, we had to get somebody else.
Feeling well.
Because you haven't been here all day.
Well, not just all day. I got the impression that she was gone, like, more than just that day.
Oh, see, I didn't. I thought it was like, we have this rehearsal.
Oh.
Why can't we get in contact with you?
See,
Show
I
up
took
to
it
rehearsal.
as like a time hop of like she had been gone for an
Could be.
extended period of time.
That could
Either
very well
way,
be
she was
true.
not there when she was supposed to be there.
Mhm.
But she had not been feeling well because we later
Well,
find
and
out
she had a bad attitude.
She did have a very bad attitude. We later find out she is pregnant with Jamie Foxx's child.
Miracle magic.
Magic. She never tells anyone because they've replaced her and she is upset. And
They
then leaves.
rightfully replaced her, and she kind of goes off on them, and that's when I'm not going happens. Oh, if you hear noises, we're outside, by the way.
Yes, birds.
Don't
and
get offended by
wind
birds. And don't you want to be outside?
And sunshine. Can you hear the sunshine?
Yeah, we're going to go swimming.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, so they replace her, and she sings I'm Not Going, and then they basically say, well, yes, you are, goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought that she was going to go into labor right there. Even before I knew she was pregnant, when I watched this as a young person, I thought she was like going to go into labor or something.
She wasn't visibly pregnant, though.
I was, 2006, I was like 13 years old.
You were not. You were 14, at least. 1 year.
Whatever. I
'Cause
still didn't
I
know what
was-
was going on. I couldn't drive. Whatever.
Now you know our ages. Don't try and find us.
Please don't. I'll call the cops. So she goes off to live her life, and the Dreams perform that night with their replacement, who is Sharon Leal, I think is her name. She's in the Why Did I Get Married films.
Oh, yeah.
She ends up getting together with Cece, who's Effie's brother. And Effie, when she's leaving out, blames every single person in there for her problems.
Yep.
Everybody. And they're all kind of like, we're fed up. This is nobody's problem but yours. You're
Mm-hmm.
so rude. And she is rude.
And we later find out, I'm skipping time, but that Cece had been sending her money over the years, but she didn't take any of it, trying to raise her daughter.
And she was struggling.
Yeah. I'm just like,
Put your pride to the side and take care of this child.
yes.
You weirdo. So the Dreams get more and more successful. They're getting bigger and bigger. I'm trying to think what... For such a long movie, there's not a whole lot that I feel like I
No.
can enumerate on.
Beyonce and Jamie Foxx get married.
They do get married, and that was a subplot of Effie thinking that
They were
Jamie
together
Foxx,
the whole time.
yes, had the hots for Dina, and she was sneaking around with him behind her back, and she's like, I wasn't. I didn't.
Yeah.
They
Which
do
you-
eventually get married,
yeah.
which did happen in real life with Diana Ross and Barry Gordy.
Mm-hmm.
We never talked about that. We saw the Motown musical,
Oh, yeah. We
but that was
saw
Diana
that.
Ross and Barry Gordy
Yes.
too. So you can just cross them together and get
Yes.
a fuller picture. So they get married, and Dina is trying to branch out into acting, and Jamie Foxx is very much like, well, you're going to do this stupid Cleopatra movie, and she's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. And John Krasinski is in it, Jim from The Office.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I remember
He's one of the
seeing
movie
him.
producers, him and John Lithgow. It was on my Snapchat. I Snapchatted it. And then you kind of find out that Curtis is just a bad dude.
Yep.
When
Very
he-
controlling.
Yes, so she ends up doing the movie that he wanted her to do. And then, does Eddie Murphy die before Effie gets back on her feet? At what point does he die?
I think that she gets back on her feet shortly before or around the same time that
Okay,
he dies.
so it doesn't matter all
Yeah.
that much.
It happened very...
Eddie Murphy shoots up heroin or whatever drug you shoot up. I'm assuming it's heroin. And he's still with Laurel at this point. I think it's been like 10 years, she said. It was like their 10th anniversary.
And he's also still married to his
He's
wife.
still married to his wife, yes. He's shooting up, and
Well,
later
because Jamie Foxx fires him from the show because he took his pants off.
well, that
on
was
national
after.
television.
The reason he was shooting up, they recorded that new song, Patience.
Mm-hmm. And he wouldn't play it.
Yes,
because they don't
were like,
do,
oh, you want a new song?
They don't do message songs.
Yes. I don't know if that was like a shout out at Marvin Gaye, which is rude because What's Going On is a good message song. Anyway, so Jamie Foxx says, we're not going to do this song even though you tried and it's a good song. We're not doing this. So that's when Eddie Murphy is shooting up because he's sad.
Yes.
And then he later goes on to perform at some sort of showcase, and he's singing, you know, a slow song, and he's singing it like to his wife in the audience and also turning and looking at Laurel.
Yeah, on the
and
side of
Laurel,
the
like they
stage.
start, the wife and Laurel, I think, start like, who else is he singing to? And then he, I guess, is just like, I can't take this anymore. So he makes up his own song, Jimmy's Rap. Jimmy want a rib, Jimmy want a steak, Jimmy want a
And the
piece of your
audience
chocolate
loves
cake.
it.
Yeah, that's why I was like, what the heck?
But he took his pants off on national television, which I guess, even though the
I mean, his
audience was having
underpants
a
were
good
still
time,
there.
they were, yes. But I guess I can see how that's not necessarily.
That's
best
not
thing
the.
to
That's
do
not
on
the.
national television.
Well, it seems like it wasn't the image that Curtis wanted. Curtis wanted this classy image, and that's not the
Yes.
image that he wanted, even though it was successful.
So then Eddie Murphy got fired.
And then as he is like leaving the stage or whatever, like, what the heck? Laurel, I think after he got fired, Laurel is saying, well, I'm breaking up with you. She sings it, but
Yep. And then she walks off, and his wife is standing behind and knows that he's been cheating this whole time, which she probably knew anyway, but like
She knew in
saw
her
it.
heart.
Yeah.
and then he, I guess, overdoses,
Yep.
and Laurel is very sad. And in the meantime, Effie has gotten together with Danny Glover, who was Eddie Murphy's manager, before Curtis came in and took him.
Oh, yes. Yes, they didn't get together as in, like, get together.
No,
but
no,
he
no.
became her manager.
Yes, and they decide she's going to put out another single because she hasn't sung in however many years. She's just been struggling for whatever reason she decides
And
in her
even
mind.
still, like, after these 10 years, he still has to coach her to not be so
Rude.
rude. Yeah.
And she did get her cut of the money when she left because remember she made that offhanded joke of
Yeah.
like, I drank through $500,000 in 6 months.
Yeah.
And it's like, you
While
have a
you were
child.
pregnant? I don't...
Well, and
While
it's
you
like
were
you have a
breastfeeding? I don't know.
child. So don't act like they didn't give you anything. They cut you out. They bought you out because Curtis kept saying when they were singing, I'm not going. He kept saying, I'll buy you out. And she was like, your money's not good enough for me. So they did buy you out and they did give you your money.
Yep.
And your brother sent you more money and you didn't want to take it.
Yes.
So she develops a single, One Night Only. It's a slow song. Curtis hears about it and does what the white people were doing to them when they were starting. He had the Dreams re-record it and
Took her
paid all the
song.
other
Yeah.
record labels to not play her song. And then fast forward, Dina eventually finds out that Curtis did this. She did not know. She gets in contact with Effie and they help to sue Curtis and uncover all of his dirty business dealings, like using mob money and stuff.
Yep.
Yep.
And then, I guess in the end, the Dreamgirls perform.
Their final time because they're breaking up because
Yes.
Dina's going to go solo.
Yep. And they bring Effie back out too to sing with them, and Jamie Foxx is in the audience and sees it, and then
He sees this child
Yes.
and he like comes from the balcony and just stands
It's
next to
super
her and
awkward.
stares at her.
like the Magic is looking up at her mom Effie singing, and they're having like a moment and they're making eye contact, and really slowly like he's just in the aisle standing right next to her staring down at her.
This stranger
And
child, yeah.
She doesn't look up and acknowledge him, but he's just 3 feet away staring at her. It's
And I guess it's supposed to be the
awkward.
realization that he is her child, even though this actress is not related to either of them and looks like neither of them.
Yep.
So how do you know that?
Yep.
She could have had a child with anybody.
And at some point Beyonce sings
Listen.
Yes,
Listen.
Which
that
I'm-
was her power ballad.
which I remember seeing on VH1
Me too,
when I was still
before
watching
school.
music videos. Yes.
when they still played them. I don't know if they do. And I don't have cable because
Yeah,
it's
I don't.
2018. Why would I? I have Netflix. Yes.
Favorite song?
We Are a Family, because, you know, I like all those harmonies. I love a harmony. I like that song.
I liked a lot of them, but I'm going to go with the one that I remember most from the time and go with Listen, which is the only original
Yep,
for the movie.
that's true.
Um,
So I guess my biggest difference from watching this originally and watching it now was that I felt bad for Effie when I first watched it. This time when I watched it, I did not feel nearly as bad for Effie because it seemed like she was bringing everything on herself and hearing about how she squandered that money. And now I pay bills, so I'm just like, really?
It was also just very irresponsible. I didn't care about her squandering her money of the bill stuff, but I'm like, you have a daughter.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, if you want to squander your own money and live on the street, fine.
Right.
But you need to pay bills because there is a child
Yes.
involved. Like, why are you doing this?
Yes. But I also didn't feel quite as bad for...
Dina?
Yes.
Yeah. She just was being led around.
Yeah.
She wasn't really making her own decisions until she sang Listen.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, don't be so timid.
Yeah.
I mean, Laurel was not making good decisions either.
No.
With the drug addict who was married. I know that's like your first love or whatever, but there's a point where you gotta let that crap go.
I probably felt the worst for her, actually, somehow.
Yeah, that's true. Because she was like...
Even though she did make a poor decision, like, I still...
She made it as a silly 17-year-old.
Yeah.
I get it. What do you want to rate this out of?
Dreams.
Sure.
I'm going to give it 3.5 dreams out of 5.
I'm going to give it 3.
Yeah.
I want to watch the Broadway one at some point.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a Broadway one.
Yeah. This won a Tony Award, this show, in the 70s.
Oh, cool. Yeah. It definitely held my attention. We watched this very late at night.
That's true. It was a struggle near the end.
And it held my attention and kept me awake the whole time, which other things that we have watched have not been successful in doing that. So that's what bumped it up from a 3 to a 3.5 for me. I was like, no, I can appreciate that.
Yeah, and I didn't know where my remote was, so I could not fast forward, so we just had to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
Also, if you haven't already listened to my sister's review of our Beaches episode, she thought it was funny. This one's probably not as funny, but listen.
No.
We're very relaxed. We're outside. Usually we're indoors.
Yeah. And it's hot, too. I'm kind of
It is
sweaty.
hot.
That's okay. It's summertime.
Yeah, it's still summer.
Mm-hmm. Getting some sun.
Yep.
Probably some cancer. Wear your sunscreen, everyone.
Reach out to us on the internet at TAMFT Podcast everywhere you can. And I
Thank
think
you
that's
for
about it.
listening.
Yep, thank you. I hope you're having a great summer day.
You're the best.
You
Bye.
seem okay. Bye.